Right, here we are, getting straight into it today because didn't do the 30-second countdown because I don't think it was quite suitable for the Spotify podcast after a bit of feedback. So thank you very much, Andrew, for that, Andrew Fletcher. But welcome everyone to the live EV podcast. And today joining me is Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
All right.
And this week, we're going to be talking about recent news, what's going on in the EV, scene, and just explaining and kind of commenting on what's going on, just in a balanced way, which tends to be missing out there these days. It's, everyone's taking a side, whether it's EV only or, petrol head only, but we're here to cut through all that, aren't we, Kev?
Yeah.
And normally we would have Alex joining us, but unfortunately couldn't make it today. But I'm sure he'll be joining us next week, what have you. So it's just me and Kevin you've got today, and yeah, let's get straight into it. So, Kevin, you've been busy as always. What have you been getting into week just gone?
Yeah, so you may have heard some news about a certain record that's been achieved by people who, a lot of people who watch the channel will probably know as Sam Clark and Sarah Sloman. They actually just broke a record for the longest journey on an electric motorcycle. And I was actually, when I had the Polestar 4 that I was testing, I was a bit secretive about it because I was the support driver on that record. So supporting them for that record around central London, which was an interesting drive around central London when you're in a 2 meter plus wide Polestar 4 supporting a motorbike, which is significantly narrower.
Were they taking advantage of drafting and slipstream there, Kevin? Was this an official world record now?
Yeah, so this is an official world record that they've done. So they've did it with no slipstreaming or anything because you have to film so much of it. And they've got...
How many miles did they do, out of interest?
Just under 200 miles on the Verge motorcycle.
Let me get up on the screen and we'll describe it for the people that aren't actually watching it. Because it'd be interesting to see the vehicle for those on X and YouTube today. So yeah, did you got details of the spec? You said I think it was a 22 kilowatt
hour. 22 kilowatt hour pack. The other interesting thing about the Verge motorcycle, which I'll describe because you'll see it in the picture, is it's got a rather interesting rear wheel.
It hasn't got one.
Yeah, so the rear wheel, you could put your head through it. It's literally got it's basically a big hollow wheel. So the actual motor is the wheel.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that looks amazing. I think I do remember seeing it one of the Everything Electric or Fully Charged shows way back when, or a very similar one. But no, that looks amazing. And I was really impressed when you were talking about it earlier before, you're saying it's got CCS2 charging.
Yeah, it's got CCS charging, so it will rapid charge like any other, like a car. So you can do long range trips in that motorbike. The other little thing it's got, which is probably something that you need to have your wits about you. It's got 1,000 Newton meters of torque.
Okay, nice. Nice. So, a few wheelies then on the. Were there any wheelies done in your rearview mirror when you were watching them?
No, it's in front of you. Well, typically, some of the roads were quite greasy, so you turn the torque right down in central London for that, because you really don't want to have 1,000 meters of torque on a wet manhole cover, do you?
No, that would
be... Or diesel on the road or anything like that.
A little bit slippy, yeah. No, for sure. So, so that was... Did they swap round, or was it... Who was it that was actually riding?
So, basically, it was Sam and Sarah kept swapping between drivers. So, this is the one thing that Sarah did have an advantage over Sam.
Right. Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
I just destroyed you.
Obviously, with a motorbike, the weight of the driver is a considerable factor compared to a car.
Yeah.
So obviously, Sarah's a bit lighter than Sam. I'm sure Sam won't mind me saying that. So,
sounds like Sarah can go out and do it again and actually beat the the record then, if that's the case.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a proper motor. It's quite an impressive motorbike. I mean, it's not a cheap motorbike because it's a bespoke one. You can have it customized with spring ratios to your liking, handlebar angles and stuff.
Yeah.
But
how much is it then?
It's starts at 44,000. So in the top spec, I think it's about the same price as the Polestar 4 I was supporting them in.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many of those are going to be sold, but there we go. Hey, Dean, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for jumping on. And yeah, don't be afraid of popping something in the comments, people, if anyone's got any questions, because I'm sure that there will be a few comments that people want to make anyway. So something that kind of ties in maybe quite nicely with that is, and did we mention it last week, Kevin, about the Brighton Seafront EV showcase?
Oh yes, I was actually at the Brighton EV showcase as well.
I knew you would be. You get about, don't you, buddy? So yeah, what was that all about? It was Harrison and his crew, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was basically trying to get, in a similar way to we deal with sort of the balance of it, is trying to get those who are unsure about EVs behind the wheel of one. Yeah. Just so they can actually try one. It's because the problem a lot of the EV community has is we're preaching to the converted. So we're talking to people who already have EVs in a similar way to fully charge. Most of their audience or everything electric is people who have EVs. Yeah. But we need to get those people who have been listening to the misinformation and stuff and believe that on board and just get them to try them and actually drive EVs.
I'm slightly worried that going to Everything Electric, because I'm going to Everything Electric on Wednesday. I was going to go Thursday. We're going Wednesday now. I'm a little bit worried about there being a Tesla stand there because of recent comments made by Everything Electric. I'm just interested to see if there's going to be some people camping up after all the stuff that's going on. It's quite interesting, actually, because you look at all the stats for EV sales that have been coming through recently from America, and with all the hoo-ha that's been going on with all the Tesla dealerships and the vandalism, etc. I think there was a couple in UK, nothing too not as dramatic as in America, but apparently EV sales grew by 11% in America in Q1, and Tesla dropped 9%. However, I still stand by, and I think I've mentioned this before, that I think they've only just got the Tesla Model Y in the US. I don't think I'm not sure if they've actually registered any yet. So it'll be interesting to see how the year plans out with regards to that. But there has been some really interesting other data with regards to what's selling and what's not selling in Europe. So, for example, VW EVs in Europe, they doubled in sales in Europe, but they fell by a third in China. And I think a lot of people that follow what's going on in China with regards to legacy brands will understand that it does feel that, the Chinese technology and the pricing is just pushing the legacy brands out, because from a not only a price point of view, but tech and in some cases quality a lot of the time, the brand loyalty seems to be kind of dissipating quite a bit. What's your thoughts on that, Kevin, in terms of sort of the Chinese the legacy EVs in China and not doing so well?
I think as well is that lots of the Chinese brands, they used to do partnerships with European brands, but now they're starting to stand on their own and they're making compelling products. You've got Xpeng that's coming over here soon, which is, it's competitively priced. It's up there with Tesla's on efficiency and tech. So they're doing, and actually you look at just here the MG products, how they've improved since the original MG3 just over a decade ago to now. They're producing really good plug-in hybrids, electric cars. They seem to be catering for all the market there, and they're very competitively priced. They're doing the same. I mean, it's the cycle we've spoken about before. The Japanese brands did it. They came in and then they got better, and quality brands, the South Koreans. The Chinese are going to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, the MG S5, I saw a couple of pictures on LinkedIn this week. So it looks like it's hit the showrooms now. But yeah, the new MG S5, not the MG5, is the vehicle that replaces the ZS. So it's slightly confusing. But having seen some of the pictures, they look really, really impressive. And I'll put them up on the screen. But it essentially looks like, and we might have touched on it last week, but it essentially looks a bit like the MG4, doesn't it, at the front? Yeah. So yeah, it's actually a really good looking vehicle, if you guys can see that there. So yeah, MG4 looking at the front, just more up to date. Maybe we can go through the spec a bit later, but yeah, like what you're saying in terms of the collaborations, there are a lot of collaborations going on. I mean, another example would be the Mazda. So Mazda have come out their new Mazda 6, but this week they have actually launched a EZ60, which is supposedly a rival. I say supposedly a rival of Model Y. But yeah, it's in cooperation with another Chinese brand, Chandan, I think it is. So one that I hadn't heard of before, which is interesting.
You look, even Stellantis are doing it with the Leap motor product. You've got the C10 and the T3, which when you look, the T3 is priced very similar to the Dacia Spring, but is fully loaded with kit. So
yeah. And I think, there are a lot of smaller cars and cheaper cars coming on the market, and that's what the market needs. And this actually leads me quite nicely onto the Renault 5. And I know we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think there's such a massive buzz going on with the Renault 5 EV at the moment. I'm not sure if you saw it, but Richard Hammond did a review on Drive Tribe recently. And I know that Richard Hammond is not really an EV advocate in any shape or form. He's not really into it. But you never know if there's a backhander or there's an incentive being placed on some of these presenters. But it did seem to be quite an honest review, and he was waxing lyrical about it in the right ways. And yeah, I mean, it's just such an impressive product, and it starts from 22,995, which, I mean, that blows the MG4 out of the water. And I mean, from what he was saying, it was quite an honest overview, really, is the fact that it feels like a fun car to drive and all the good things that I think we already know about the Renault 5. But he said, when you shut the tailgate, it doesn't thud. It closes with like a tinny kind of noise, which is fine because it's a cheap car. But I think as long as it's a lot better built than the Dacia Spring, then I think that would give me a load of confidence. I really want to have a drive of one. Have you got one?
That's the one car I really want to try. It obviously has, the first car EV we drove was my wife had the Renault Zoe. So I want to see if it captures that, but obviously has improved on it. Because if we're honest, the sequel to the Zoe was not great. The second Zoe, when they changed certain things, it made it less safe.
Yeah, they really
so they see. Hopefully, they've come back with it on the Renault 5. The other thing in news around Renault products, they've just had a price reduction on the Scenic, so that all of their products are now below 40k. So
okay, nice. Well, sorry, go on, mate. You go.
Yeah, so I think as much as a lot of people, as much as we think probably the 40k luxury car thing needs to raise, it has served the purpose. It's brought a lot of cars below that threshold.
Yeah.
So you do wonder, are they selling them at a loss, or was there that margin in them all along? I mean, as things scale up, they should get cheaper to make.
Yeah, I mean, with the Renault 5, another thing that really kind of hammered home with me as well, and I'm not sure if it was actually on that Drive Tribe review or whether it was on the Smith and Sniff podcast. I think it was Smith and Sniff. So they were saying that it's one of those sort of cars that hits all the notes in terms of the look, the price, the fun, the drivability, but also it's kind of got that iconic design where, you know what, people that have got a much higher budget would probably still buy it, even though it is, it got the Renault badge. There's no kind of brand snobbery with this type of car because it has got that iconic design, and it's it makes you smile. It's one of those sort of, I think it really is going to be that classic car. And even I think Johnny Smith was saying that so many people were coming up to him when he was in the car, because I think he's test driving at the moment, saying, "Oh no, that car, I'm not really into EVs, but this is something else." So this could be the kind of the bridge for a lot of people to start getting into EVs. That, okay, fair enough, if it might not be their everyday or family car, but as a runabout, just to take the kids up the road, do the school run and that sort of thing, it really could start making some really good progress for the kind of EV market. Obviously, it's going to be mainly for people that have got driveways, or say majority. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think they've done well. They've absolutely nailed it.
And they've nailed it on price as well, which you think Fiat missed an opportunity. They could have done that with the 500e. If the 500e had been priced as keenly as that, I think the 500e would have been, that it had that similar thing. People liked the 500. It just was too high. The price was too high on it.
Yeah,
because I think what did they start at? They were mid-30s, weren't they, when they were launched for the bigger battery?
Well, you can get. Everyone will know I'm a big advocate of a used car, especially a used EV, maybe too used, some might say. And you can get a Fiat 500e for like 10, 11 grand, 12 grand, which is good. But I did dig into the detail on the affordability of the Renault 5 because obviously a lot of people might not have 23 grand to pay outright. The cheapest ones used on Auto Trader are 24, 25 grand at the moment. And they do look great because they got a massive 5 on the side. So there's some nice decals that people are putting on them from factory. But from a PCP and finance point of view, with a sort of minimal deposit, you can get one for $249 a month on 5.5% APR and 0% if you've got a 30% deposit, which is what that's going to be about about $7 grand, £182. So yeah, I mean, £250 a month sounds pretty affordable to me. And I don't think the deals are going to get any better than that because the desirability is going to be there. I think there's going to be a long lead time for those. So it might be the fact that, it might be a good car to buy for a strong residual value. And it'd be interesting to see what the battery degradation is like. Because I don't think the Zoe suffer too badly. I've not seen. It'd be interesting. Anyone in the comments, anyone watching right now, who have got any experience with the battery degradation on Renaults, that'd be interesting to see. Dean's just said, I think we are now seeing EVs are aspirational at a good price. 23k starting for a Renault 5 is brilliant. Fiat Panda will be the next one that will sell well, I expect. No, absolutely. Yeah, the Fiat Panda
on the Panda. I saw a report that the multi-platform one, the Grande Panda, the waiting lists are already full for that. So that's again captured it's got a big following in Italy, isn't it?
Okay.
So it's European demand that's driving those, and it's a bigger Panda. It seems weird, the Grande Panda, though. It's just like a big Panda.
They're pandering to their local, the local.
And I mean,
purchases. Anyway, moving on swiftly. Another bigger car that I was quite interested to see as well, and I'll share it on the screen for the people watching it live. We'll, describe it for the people just listening in. Is that one, the new Genesis G90. So obviously everyone's seen the recent Kia and the recent Hyundai bigger SUVs. Genesis have gone out and they've got this absolute beast of a thing. Look at this. I'm sure it will be absolutely opulent inside. It does look pretty smart, although I do love the look of the Kia. The Kia is certainly kind of stolen my heart in terms of the look. Does look pretty smart though. What do you reckon, Kev?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a really posh EV9 Ioniq line, isn't it? I mean, nice. Genesis always it's the luxury brand, isn't it? It's Hyundai, Kia's Lexus brand.
It's pretty darn tasty. Pretty darn tasty. I do like the look of it. I'm a massive Genesis fan. Still, I don't think they've just facelifted the GV60 as well. So no, that was pretty smart. But yeah, the in terms of other newer vehicles coming out, that Fiat Panda, and obviously we've got the new Nissan Micra as well. Do we know what the timings are on the Fiat Panda? Is it coming out soon?
It must be coming out soon because it's the same platform as the Frontera.
Oh, is it really? Oh,
yes, it shares the Frontera platform. Yeah, so I'm guessing that's also EC3 platform.
Right. Okay.
So it's the Stellantis' small platform. I mean, and the good news is, this week I've been in the new Astra, and it's on paper it looks like it's got a tiny battery because it's only a 54 kilowatt pack, which is 50.08 usable according to EV database.
Okay.
But it is genuinely efficient. I've got an eco loop that I do, which is the round town loop. So it's a 30-mile-an-hour loop. This is where you should get the maximum out of an EV.
Yeah.
And it got 7.5 miles per kilowatt hour on that loop. I've not even seen it. The Hyundai Kona doesn't quite do that. It's literally,
Wow.
it's a massive. I mean, reading some of the stuff up on.
So realistically, you're saying it's a 250-mile range.
Yeah.
Vehicle.
So I took it on the motorway today, just
Yeah.
going with the flow of traffic. Apart from the issues with, there's a lot of 50-mile-an-hour bits which you can't avoid. The Severn Bridge being one of them because it's being repaired. But then just going, up to the motorway speeds. Then it did 250 miles. It did its WLTP. It sat at 5.2, and the average since I've had it, it's sitting at 5.2 over 620 odd miles, and that's mixed driving, town, motorway. And I even tried on a
battery. That is really impressive.
Yeah. I mean, lots of people have moaned that 250 is not enough range. But actually, I mean, what do you get out of your Teslas now? I mean, you're probably broadly similar.
What, my 200 odd thousand mile or my 100? Okay. So
your biggest battery, well, your less degraded battery.
Well, I'm trying to do a battery test on Rusty. I'd had to. It'll be on Chargeheads UK videos soon, but essentially, I think it's got a 66 kilowatt hour battery, and it used to be 75. So at 66, with the aircon on, driving to Bath, to and from, I think it was only doing about 220 miles, and I was getting pretty much 4 miles per kilowatt, which doesn't sound quite right to me. I don't know I don't know whether the air conditioning was affecting it that much, but 66 kilowatt hours at 4 miles per kilowatt, that should be 264. So I don't quite understand what happened to my other kilowatt hours there, unless the thing that's showing how many kilowatt hours I've got, which is my Nginx Boost 50 app, is completely out. So yeah, I'm a little bit confused, unless there's some phantom drainage somewhere. It's just a bit odd. Bit odd.
Question Deed's asked, I can't really answer now because it's not winter, and I've only had it for a week. But I mean, it does have a heat pump as standard. So all the Vauxhall stuff is starting to have heat pumps as standard now. So obviously that new platform design or that new motor design has kind of got that integrated in. So it must be trying to scavenge heat from everywhere else.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Paul, for sharing that. So Paul's just said, Paul Harrington, he's just said, you asked about Renault battery degradation, and his 72 plate ZE50, which is the Zoe, the newer one. So 72 plate 2002 for people not au fait outside of UK, had 96% battery state of health when tested in October. Done 23,000 miles. Was that mainly charged on AC? I don't know if it might not have DC on that one, because I know that that's what used to be an option, didn't it, on the newer shape Renault Zoes. So it'd be interesting to know if that's mainly AC, Paul, if you could share that with us. Where were we?
The interesting thing with the Zoes that we found is actually the newer ones seem to suffer more from degradation than the old original ones. That's which I'm wondering whether, because it was designed with that same platform, whether the density didn't help with the cooling, because it is
but the older ones didn't have DC charging, the new ones did, so that's obviously the answer.
Yeah, but remember the older ones could do 43 at DC, so they can't. The DC ones can't charge any quicker than the AC ones because they're limited to 50, and they pull about 43, the same as the old ones did. So
right.
the rapid
you talk about the old ones that had DC charging?
No, they had rapid AC charging. Remember, they did that weird AC rapid on. Remember the DBT chargers could do 43 on it.
No, that I missed that one. I thought the fastest they could do is 22 kilowatt AC.
Yeah, so they had two motors.
There's no way you can say rapid and AC in the same sentence.
Well, back in the day, 43 was rapid.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
So when we had 50 kilowatt chargers, yeah, it was as Dean just said, the Chameleon charger, designed by Continental. But when they switched to the Renault motor design and the Renault one, they ended up losing the 43.
Right.
It must have been a patent, I guess, that Continental had for 43 kilowatt charging.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm still. That is pretty impressive. I'm still not sure where all this electricity is going in my Tesla Model 3, though. It might be the fact that I use full self-driving all the time. That probably eats quite a lot of the electricity, I would think.
Or Sentry mode? You're not on Sentry.
No, I don't normally have it on Sentry mode. It might be the full self-driving because I use it literally all the time because I'm just so lazy with it because it's just so easy because it's just dual carriageways. It's not like they're fun roads, So turn it off as soon as you get to a country road. Unless the missus and the kids are in it, you can't really have any fun. Fun goes out the window because they're the fun police when I'm driving. So when it comes to so more stuff that's in the news at the moment. So China with all the tariff stuff going on at the moment. I don't know if you've heard this, Kev, but China and EU are exploring minimum pricing. So to get away from tariffs. They're trying to, because the tariffs between China and EU, depending on the brand, are anything from like 10% up to sort of 39%. But they're starting to talk to save. I say save. You could argue save the legacy automakers. Not making sales because the Chinese EVs are undercutting them. They're putting these minimum pricing into account. Which, yeah. Well, what's your thoughts on that, Kev? Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, it's almost like price fixing, isn't it? It's like, does that really encourage competition? Because if you have minimum pricing, that means that is that like almost like the sugar tax, isn't it? Like you have to have a minimum price for a sugary drink. And like, well, you've probably heard talk about them getting rid of meal deals and stuff. Minimum pricing on meal deals and things like that.
What?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so they're looking at minimum pricing on meal deals, and that's a similar thing on a smaller scale. But I think things like that hurt affordability.
Right.
And we should be driving affordability forward. I mean, competition the protectionism doesn't work. Competition is good for the only thing you need to make sure, I guess, that people aren't dumping stuff onto market, so doing it at a loss. But then, sometimes when you scale things up, you can make them more cheaply. And I think a lot of the manufacturers or the older manufacturers just haven't scaled up yet.
Yeah, but you could argue the protectionism. But then again, when bigger corporations get involved, and take this with a bit of a pinch of salt, but obviously they just move. And this is, I suppose, Trump and America's argument is they just move the factories abroad where the labour's cheaper, and then everybody at home is like struggling to get. I say everyone struggling to get jobs and cheaper labour and stuff like that. So there's got to be a balance, isn't there? At the end of the day, that like with everything in life, there has to be a balance. So it's just finding it really. E-tripping with Adam Gebbett. How you doing, buddy? I've not seen you comment before. Thanks for popping something in. So 250 miles a day. I'm more 50 miles now. Don't need more. Okay.
I mean, I think that is the thing that lots of people say they need a lot of miles a day. So you work out that 250 miles a day. If you need to do that every day, how many miles? I'm going to have to get a calculator. How many miles would you do in a year if you're doing that every day?
What, 250?
Yeah. So
okay. Yeah, I'm
going to have to go old school on this. Can't do that in my head. Sorry.
Well, I'll just read out Paul's comment. So Paul, he's put, yes, has rapid charging, have had it since December 2023, have charged at 3.2 kilowatt, an old slow 2017 Rolex dumb charger. Wow. I bet that's got a bit of dust on it. 99.8.
Didn't it used to melt?
Well, I'm hoping for Paul's sake it hasn't melted. 99.8% at the time in my ownership. Now, I'm not sure about the Rolex dumb charge, but I know that 3-pin charging, they do get quite warm and you lose quite a lot of electricity in loss. It'd be interesting to see what losses that Rolex charger would accrue. But no, good to hear you've got that going, Paul. Is your thoughts on the Rolex dumb charger is if the government bring in any kind of tax that it's dumb and good, it's good that it's dumb, so no one can pick up how much electricity you're putting in your car? That would be.
I have a very dumb, not BP Charge Master. I have a really dumb Polar Charge Master one that's 7 kilowatts that came with the first Zoe back in 2015. Weirdly, still works perfectly. And I've just worked out if you do 250 miles a day, that's 91,250 a year.
However, am I the only person who thinks the Renault 5 is ugly? Sacre bleu, E-Tripping and Adam Gebbett. I think it's a good looking car. I've seen it in person in the metal. I've not driven it, and I think inside and outside, I think it's a lovely bit of kit. I think it looks more like the Clio. You know, the original, Nicole Papa, if that was it, Clio. I think it looks a lot like the Clio at the front. Do you think it's a good looking car, Kev?
Yeah, I quite like it. I mean, there's a lot of quite good looking. They were in the past EVs or cars that did the retro thing badly, but you think original, Mustang, when it went retro looking, started to look good. The original Mustang. Yeah. Remember, it had some really weird styling back in the 90s where it didn't really look, and then they went back to that retro modern thing and it looked good. Wait, you can argue Fiat 500. That was one of the first retro cars and stuff. Mini. It's just the designers seem to have managed to capture the essence of the car but modernize it. I'm not so sure about the new minis with the very angular backs. I'm still undecided on that.
I quite like them, but I think they're and I mean, I've driven the new electric Mini when it first came out. Lucky to drive that, and I think it's an amazing car. They're a lot of money though. And bear in mind, the electric ones are Chinese made. So again, it's, but they are nice. They are nice. I don't argue it. Over 90,000 miles a year. That's a lot of miles, isn't it, Todd? Thanks for commenting. I don't think I've seen you on before. Thanks for joining in. Kev, was that the calculation you got?
Yeah, over 90.
You're still working it out. So Mark, 5 looks great, but Insta is more practical.
But this is the thing we've talked about here on a few times: is people don't buy cars with their heads. Generally, they buy them with their hearts. So you could have a car that was technically worse but looked better, and the technically worse one would. Because I'm betting the Insta will probably be more efficient. But it's. I mean, unless you look at the Insta-Ride that we spoke about last week. I don't think that's going to be more efficient.
The end version looked pretty sick, didn't it? It looked pretty awesome. Funnily enough, I think you're absolutely bang on there because, I mean, it took me ages to sell my petrol auto Mazda 3. And we were originally going to buy a Honda Civic. And I wish we had bought the Honda Civic, but the auto gear... we'll go into the detail. This is a car podcast after all. So the automatic gearbox on Honda Civics, it's just really awful.
CVT.
It is really, really awful. And I was trying to find a gearbox that wasn't CVT. And the Mazda 3 2-litre petrol auto, I didn't think it was CVT. It doesn't act like a CVT quite as much. But anyway, just putting the gearboxes aside, I ended up buying a Mazda 3 petrol auto instead of the Honda Civic because I found a well-priced one. But I think the Mazda 3 is just not aesthetically that... pleasing. Whereas the Honda Civic it's one of those designs that just seems to be a lot more pleasing as time goes on. So it took us a while to sell that Mazda, which is now gone. The Chargeheads support vehicle, got someone come and have a look at that tomorrow. So if the Alphard goes, we will be fully electric. 4 electric vehicles we'll have, and only one of them works properly. For now.
So going back to the Civic, it was quite key when they changed that design with the triangle tailpipe finishes, and that was one of the key things because it was the first car to have people noticed it had, even though it was literally just the end of the exhaust was a triangle, the rest of it was normal.
Yeah, we had the original one, a 1.8 VTEC manual years ago. A great car. I used to sell them back in the day. But yeah, I'm a big Honda fan, although not the recent Honda SUV. Not a cool car at all. He's back again. E-tripping with Adam Gebbett. My Charge Master is still working too. Great charger. It's the battle of the ancient vintage chargers on here at the moment. Has anyone got anything older that maybe puts out a lower kilowatt? Takes you a week to charge a 100.
Is there anything older than the Polar Charge Master one? I don't know.
Yes, it is. Todd, I'm not sure what you're responding to there, buddy.
The 90,000 miles.
Oh yeah, okay. Just confirm. Good work, Todd.
You can be our official chargers. Speaking of slow chargers, I did a post on LinkedIn, which is you find that the ones that go viral are the ones you put the least care into. So it was a sunny day. My battery storage was full, but I was still generating a lot of electricity. So I know it's the least efficient way of doing it. But I set my Hyundai granny charger to 6 amps and let that charge and use the excess for that. And the number of people that commented on that, when it's like literally all I've done is like use my outside plug and slowly charged it. But yeah, so that's probably the most basic charger for it, especially when you turn it down to 6 amps. That's only 1.3 kilowatts charging speed.
Every little helps. If you had Sentry mode on, it wouldn't even be charging. E Trippin and Adam Gebbert again, back in again. Good to see you again. Would love a more futuristic approach. Love the Megane style. Just too many retro cars out there. And you know why? It's because it works. People love it. It's that nostalgia, isn't it? I was literally thinking about this today. I was thinking, oh, do you know what? It was because I was watching the Late Break show, and the recent video on there gone out today. This guy's a racing driver, Scottish chap, won lots of Indy cars. He's got a lot of his old cars. He's got his Ferrari F40, as you do, that he's had since he's like 26, and his, all these like lovely cars. I'm thinking, do you know what? I would love to have some of my old cars back, but I don't have his budget to completely restore them from scratch. Like his Ferrari 555.
But you see that nostalgia with the classic car scene. If you look how much things like fast forwards from the 80s cost now, and how much, like, if you want a Peugeot 206 GTI, they're going for 30 plus.
You don't mean 206 GTI, they were pants. You mean 205.
205, yes. 206 GTI. No, 205 GTI, yeah. But they're going for 30 odd grand now. I mean, and fast forwards like Cosworth, you're talking 100k. I remember when they were rusting on people's drives and you couldn't give them away. Yeah,
well, the thing is, like, although the classic market has gone right down the toilet recently, there are still those cars that, hit the good money, especially if it's, I think the 90s, 80s, 90s cars seem to be the sweet spot at the moment. But, I really wish I could get my old Daihatsu Stray GTTI back, a really nice example, because that car was just phenomenal for what it was, just an absolute beast, and no one knows what they are. If anyone's been in, or their friend or family member, or you knew someone that had a Daihatsu Stray GTTI, whack it on here, because I'd be really interested to know, because it's quite a rare beast. The Rolex is really reliable. The Rolex is really reliable. I had it fitted with Rolex mechanical timer, a Rolex product, so that I can time charges.
That sounds like what I set my Christmas lights on with at Christmas. Like one of those little timers with little things you push in that goes around.
I don't think that a 3.2 kilowatt gets that warm. Plus, I had a £500 grant. Wow. Yeah, nice work, Paul. I do only drive 100 miles in a week. There we go. Horses for courses, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah, to be fair, even I could, with the sunny week we've had, I could have charged that 100 miles for free of my solar.
Yeah, true. Todd, I wasn't sure what your picture was. It looked like a very weird looking Yoda with a sweaty head. Please confirm. Yes, the comment was about the miles per year. I forgot there's a delay for you in the chat. Okay. Yeah, there is a tiny delay, so apologies if we didn't get to it quick enough. Mike P, given full self-driving is possibly going to get approval in the Netherlands by the end of this year, how long do you think the UK will be, and how much impact do you think it will make? Good question. I mean, so many people don't think full self-driving will work in the UK because of the type of roads we have, in terms of being quite narrow, in terms of all the potential hazards that are around. I know that my full self-driving on Rusty, my 2019 Model 3, still can't do roundabouts. It can't really do sharp corners on 60 miles an hour without being very, very careful, like maybe just being careful, close to the wheel, just in case it just has a bit of a meltdown. Although the newer Model 3 Highland and the Juniper Model Y, the cameras are so much better, and they do seem to be making a lot of progress. So only time will tell. I'm still quite confident that they will do it. I genuinely am. They seem to, although it's a lot delayed. Elon never been that accurate with his timings. He has normally pulled it out of the bag. So I'm confident that it will happen. So buy your Tesla shares now while they're on the floor, I would say. What's your thoughts, Kev?
Well, see, I think the main issue with full self-drive is there's an easy fix for it, is to put more sensors. Doing it with visual systems, you're giving it the same limitation as a person. And he's run away. Because
I was getting water.
yeah, because I mean, doing it with just cameras, you've got the same limitations as the person behind the wheel. And I think if you look at the Volvo stuff, which is all fitted to the Volvos and some of the newer Polestars and the Lotuses, they're all using LiDAR, radar, and cameras. And I think doing it with visual things, you're always going to have certain conditions where it's as limited as your eyes are. So I think it would be so much easier from just to add those sensors, and then get it more approved. Because even you think Ford have Blue Cruise, which is hands and feet off, but that is radar and visual systems and eye tracking.
Yeah, but I'm sure I think this was, I can't remember what the source was. So, again, take it with a pinch of salt. But I'm sure that there was some Chinese manufacturer who's the one that's done a lot of LiDAR, and they've literally got the LiDAR sensor right at the top of their windscreen. I want to say XPeng.
That's XPeng and Lotus have it. On the Lotus, Electra's got them front and rear.
I'm sure I saw something that apparently the guy came over to America, recently experienced the new FSD, and was like blown away by it, and that LiDAR isn't really going to be the right way. But I completely get what you're saying, Kev, because you're absolutely right. In fog and things like that, or maybe I'm no scientist or engineer, but what about some sort of infrared, or you can get, used to be able to get on the Audis.
It's like, why not put more sensors when you can? Make it better than the person. Because I mean, you've probably seen the Roadrunner test video that with the Tesla, with the picture that they did full size of the road.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
So they had a Tesla on full self-drive mode, and they got a massive picture printed of the same road and put it in front of the car. So they tested it with other cars that had radar as well, and they all stopped. The Tesla just went straight through it but then if it had a radar, it wouldn't have, because the radar would have bounced back. Whereas you can trick your eyes. You can't trick other systems. And I think it's just almost a stubbornness to stick with that one technology that's not helping them. Whereas if they just say, we'll put radar back, or you've got more things to augment it. They make it a lot easier for themselves. No,
I completely get it. I mean, the lesson to be learned there is, if you've got a wall or a fence, don't make it look like a road. Otherwise, you might have a visitor from a Tesla. Todd, yes, it is Yoda. Good. I'm glad I wasn't wrong there. So e-tripping Adam Gebbert is, but I wish Uber would be self-driving in London, be safer. Yep, absolutely.
I was actually supporting that Guinness World Record. Yes, some of the Uber drivers are a bit wild, aren't they?
Oh, well, I was in a taxi driver yesterday after this wedding, and there and back, we're in a Chiran 7-Up, and the guy was literally I was in front, and he was on the bumper of the person in front, and he was braking hard, and it was not the most pleasant experience. FSD in Cornwall will be in 2300 or so. Yeah, Cornwall, I mean, you'd have to, that would be pretty cool though, wouldn't it? If it could detect a car up ahead, and then it would reverse for you and get into that, entrance for the farm or something like that, because it does get very tight in Cornwall. You're absolutely right, Mark. Neo, I think we've decided it was the XPeng. Could be the Neo though. John Baker, I like your lightning bolt. Proper FSD isn't over here yet, only North America and China. I don't think it's a problem with just camera. It works well as a LiDAR system, if not better. Some XPeng and others are ditching LiDAR. That's exactly what I was getting at. So John's backing me up here, Kev.
We'll agree to disagree on that one, because it's almost like, do you remember the TV show Humans back in the day? Remember
Mike has put that picture was debunked. There we go, Kev. You spreading EV myths about Tesla.
Don't know. It's a very video. I mean, but is that a myth? We don't know. Is the debunked a myth rather than that?
I don't know. I think some people are trying to get rid of EV myths. But no, now there's Tesla myths out there. Radar is better but expensive. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the cost, isn't it? And Tesla don't like putting expensive things on their cars. More sensors doesn't mean better driving. Doesn't mean better driving. The AI. So I get what you mean. New FSD is not fooled by that Roadrunner picture test. There we go. Yeah, I think it's AI. I mean, I think people that, and I know quite a lot of people around me that just are like, artificial intelligence. I mean, why do you use that? What's that for? It's so big at the moment in everything we do. I mean, do you often use it, Kev? You use it in work and stuff?
I tend not to, because I've had to write a policy in the day job for it. So, I mean,
Wow.
the problem with AI in general is it can make stuff up and lie. So that's why you always need a person to check and proofread it. So, I mean, and that's the thing is, when you go to full self-drive, where does the liability lie? Because if you have a crash, who's to blame? And this is why manufacturers are reluctant to do it, because obviously if they have a big accident and it's caused by a full self-driving car, who's the liability lie with? That's why that jump from the sort of level 2 self-drive, where you're there and you've got to be alert for it doing itself, because that's like no steering wheel. That's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen videos of, the driverless taxis in San Francisco, and they have to have aggression algorithms.
Yeah.
The Waymos and stuff. When there's been videos of them like seeing amber light and flooring it, and it's like, it's just because the problem is with full self-drive, for it to work properly, every car needs to communicate with every other car. So they all need to be, because there's that unpredictability of a human driver that the computer has to work out that. And that's why they've had to build aggression into it. Because the problem is, if you're sat at if you drive to a rural area with country roads, there's a driverless car and a car with a driver. Which one backs off? If one of you's got to reverse, because there's no car-to-car communications, they don't know that the other car's coming.
Yeah.
So would a self-drive car just sit there, or would it try and push the other one out of the way? And people have the ability to bully.
I like Mike. He's already putting us all right. Let's say it works. The whole driving scene will change massively. Tesla have stated that they will take liability similar to Merck's with their system. Okay, so thinking about it, if you had the choice, if you're going to have an accident, you're going to come off the road, are you going to hit the small child or the OAP? There's that kind of
no win.
Say again?
The no-win thing. To use a Star Trek term, the Kobayashi Maru thing. The no-win.
Straight over the head, mate.
So basically, the no-win situation.
I'm more of a dwarf than a Trekkie. But no, ultimately, if you're AI and you can make those decisions in a split second, bearing in mind a human can't think that fast, so it would be like he won't even be able to think about it. So you could argue that that's even safer if you could actually make the decision of what would be a better decision in that awful decision that has to be made. I mean, obviously the OAP would get fully taken out. But yeah, it's an interesting debate, isn't it?
This was actually, I believe it was one of the news conferences by Mercedes, where one of the executives got slated because they said their primary safety thing would always be the Mercedes driver.
Really?
So, and it got really slated because of that, similar to that sort of comment that we've got on there. It's like, what would it do? Would it save you and take out 52 people? I mean, it's that there's going to be situations where AI has to make a decision like that. And I don't think it's quite there yet. But then if everything's got car-to-car communications, those accidents shouldn't happen because every car knows where every other car is.
Yeah. But yeah, well, the argument there is no older cars should be on the road and only full self-driving vehicles. Or you could argue that maybe FSD is only available in those kind of areas, like only in cities where only particular cars are allowed and things like that. So yeah, again, it's regulations, red tape, but what's the ultimate goal here? what we're trying to focus on. We're trying to focus on, in most cases, it's to reduce tailpipe emissions, to have cleaner cities, and from a sustainability point of view. Careful what I say, because all those
going
on.
I mean, on that thing as well, we get, as EV drivers, we get a lot of people pushing it's about control. I mean, if you go down the route of saying everyone's going to be in a car that they don't drive themselves, that's the ultimate kind of freedom taker to some people, isn't it? Even though a lot of the time on motorway, I think motorways will be the first it works on, because they're actually controlled roads, so they're more predictable. It's those rural roads, those country roads, which are going to be so much harder to do.
Yeah. But as what Kev was talking about, the comment that came up, EV Tripping and Adam Gebbert has put, if your car was driving with AI and came in contact with a coach, would it drive you into a ditch or risk 52 lives? John Baker's put 4 million drives by Waymo last year, just 3 cited, all autonomous.
Yeah, but look at the amount of sensors on those Waymo cars compared to, they've got LiDAR everywhere on them, and I think they only work within a certain radius, don't they?
Well, the Tesla taxis are going to be coming into, I think was it California and Texas, or was it Austin or something like that? Cities. Yeah, sorry, just 3 cities, all autonomous. Yeah, sorry, not cited.
Because I think the Waymos, they've got a huge amount of data. I think they've LiDAR mapped every city that they work in. So they've got full 3D models of everything. I mean, the amount of data they must have is huge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it was Austin. Yeah. Right. There's another thing that I wanted to mention, because, and I know that we spoke about it early on, and I think a lot of people know that I'm a big Tesla fan. So everyone's talking about residual values and, Tesla's not being worth anything. And it'd be interesting to know what it's like in the US. You could argue it's probably going to be more impactful in the US. I've been looking on Auto Trader, because I was thinking that, if people didn't know, I bought the cheapest Tesla Model 3 Performance in the country out of an auction. It was 218,000 miles. It was 2022, done 72,000 miles. And I was thinking, okay, I bought it at the start of March, probably not the greatest idea, because I'm sure loads of EVs are going to be hitting the market end of March, start of April. And then all the Tesla stuff started carrying on. I was thinking, wow, okay, it's interesting videos, all the rest of I'm making, but financially, has this been suicide? So I plucked up the courage and I went on Auto Trade and had a little look at Tesla Model 3 pricing. And I don't think it's changed hardly at all since end of February, start of March. So if anyone's in the US, I'd be really interested to know if Tesla pricing has changed on news market, because everyone is saying, whether it's the media or the naysayers, and a lot of people that keep on, commenting on my YouTube channel and loads of other stuff, swastika and all that rubbish. But these Teslas are not going to be worth anything. But actually, you look at the real data, that's absolute BS, So yeah, if anyone's got any insight into the US pricing for Tesla, I'd be really, really interested in that. Mark's just put, I struggle with how FSD is a pay-for service, whereas some Chinese EVs with FSD ability come free with the car. I mean, I've not seen any Chinese cars with full FSD, but no car's got FSD. Let's be honest. So, Kev, have you driven any Chinese cars with some seriously good?
I mean, they're all similar. I mean, they're all just assists, really. I mean, most cars you think have, adaptive cruise, lane keep assist and stuff. All Blue Cruise is adaptive cruise with lane keep assist, where it doesn't use the steering wheel sensor. It just watches your eyes that you're watching the road. So there's not many. I mean, full self-drive is not, at the moment, it's still advanced cruise control, isn't it? Because you still have to be there and you have to be part of the process. So
why don't car makers install software into smartphones for entertainment apps and software updates? This would extend life of vehicles.
Some of the budget ones do, because they just have a mount, don't they, for your phone, and you connect it to the speakers and stuff. I think some of the entry levels, like the Spring and stuff like that, have that, and some petrol cars have it, where it's just your entertainment is your phone mounted and your nav, and it comes out of the audio system that's in the car.
This actually follows quite nicely, as usual, onto this week's video on Chargeheads UK. So on the Wednesday, 7 o'clock, because I've changed it recently from 8 to 7, I've got a video which is highlighting the UK's highest mileage Tesla Model 3. It's done 256,000 miles. And a really interesting comment that he added in the video, and I'm sure you'll see it if you watch it, is he's never bought a car that actually improved in, like, because it's 2019, so it's the only car he's had that's actually improved. It's like, it's amazing. You just think about how many improvements, how many software updates. So it's me going on about Tesla again, Kev. So you see a bit of a trend here. There's actually improved so much, a bit like the side assist that you see on the cameras. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I find it really, really interesting that, you know, okay, yes, you can have a phone where everything's updates, a bit like the VW e-up, Kev.
That was the one, yeah. The e-up had the phone mounted and the basic stereo, and it's
the e-up or the iMe or the City E or what have you. That's the ones that had it. So yeah, it's just, I think that needs to be kind of the future, really. Well, or the present, as the case may be. So yeah, but yeah, so that's coming for me this week, and I'm going to be at Everything Electric on Wednesday. You'll see me wearing my work jacket, Dynamon, because it's a work day for me. So I'll be talking to a few people around there, and I might have time to whip out the camera to do a bit of filming. So if anyone's at Everything Electric in London on Wednesday, come and say hello. It'd be good to speak to people, anyone that watches the channel or watches the podcast or listens even. Kev, what are you up to this week? So
the Astra goes back tomorrow and gets swapped with the Grandland with a bigger battery. So that's the 74. So I'd be interested to see how the bigger vehicle does, because that's one of the bigger Peugeot ones as well. I'm trying to work out which equivalent Peugeot or Citroen it is. So that's going. And then I've got a Jaiku I'm testing as well later in the week.
I saw a couple on the road this today. Seen quite a few.
Not fully electric, but a plug-in hybrid that's supposed to be, again, a really efficient one, but with all-wheel drive and quite a decent towing capacity for those who, that is still a limitation of like the charging station. Yeah, so be interested to that. And actually, that's one of the things we're talking about Chinese brands. It used to be that the Chinese brands would get the low Euro NCAP stars rating, but now they're all up there getting 5 stars when some of the traditional manufacturers aren't. So even safety is becoming, and you know, when they're putting all the safety kit that's needed on it, because with Euro NCAP now, it's not just structural safety; it's a lot of it is to do with stopping you crashing in the beginning. Yeah. So there's a lot of tech that goes on them for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, yeah, thank you everyone for listening in. Commuter Branch Line, you're a bit late, buddy, so you have to watch it back. And don't forget, everybody, we are now on Spotify. So if anyone can't make the lives, just jump on Spotify, find Chargeheads YEV on there, jump on there and set it as a favorite. Please share. It'd be great to increase the channel coverage, and so we can grow and do some more exciting stuff with the channel. Maybe a live, we want to do a live distance drive, I think, at some point, don't we, Kev? Jump in Rusty or the 218,000 mile beast,
or even older EVs. I still want to get like an original Ioniq and see how far it can go.
Well, there we go. There's lots we can do. So yeah, thanks everyone for chipping in. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. See you then.
See ya.